Hi everyone, welcome back to Newfound Happy Hour. My name is Sarah, and if you haven't listened to this podcast before, it started out as a way to kind of showcase people here in Newfoundland doing cool things, or just talking about their careers or organizations they're involved in, and really just promoting like real people who aren't influencers or celebrities. And now it's branching out, so I can kind of just talk about whatever I want. I usually do have guests on, but last episode and today it is just me. So sorry if my voice is annoying because it is just going to be me today. And my voice is a little bit raspy from being at the Eras tour last weekend. As I'm recording this, it's Thursday and I saw her on Saturday. So still kind of recovering a little bit. I was singing for a good 3 hours at least. Because then we went out after to another Taylor Swift party, which I'll talk about in a little bit. But yeah, my voice kind of took a hit. And I mentioned on this podcast before too, like I lose my voice really easily. So I really shouldn't be singing for that long at a time. But here we are. And that's what I'm going to be talking about today is basically Taylor Swift and the Eras tour. And I'm trying to find all the notes I had that I wanted to mention because I've been thinking about doing this episode for a minute. And yeah, like this episode or this podcast in general is just to like still share experiences and encourage different perspectives, and essentially just give big sister advice and best friend energy. That's what I want it to feel like. And this episode, I'm starting with a new segment, which is called Show Them This. So I think this episode is relatable whether you like Taylor Swift or you don't. Either you kind of like her or you're a big fan or you're like a crazy super fan, or you don't like her and you can't understand why people like her. So this episode is really for everybody because if there's someone, and I feel like as a fan, we all have these people like at work or school or like family dinners who feel the need to always ask why we are fans of this person and how they like just don't get it. But this is an episode that you can show them and you can save your breath and you can show them this. And if you still don't understand why someone would like her after this episode, then I don't know. I don't know what to tell you. Like, I totally understand why someone wouldn't like her. Like, if the music just isn't your thing and you just don't get it. But like, for some reason, people who feel that way always feel the need to put people down for liking her. And in the words of Taylor herself, the worst kind of person is someone who makes others feel dumb or stupid for being excited about something. So let's not fall into that category and let's have a listen and maybe people might change their minds a little bit. And like I am speaking about Taylor in this episode specifically, but like I think it just relates to a bigger issue of why we can't just let people enjoy things, especially things that don't cause harm to others. And like I've been thinking a lot lately about how things that are like primarily enjoyed by women that are about inclusion and celebration and positivity and lifting each other up like are all made fun of and like frowned upon. And I did an episode about the Barbie movie like last year too, which is the same thing. And then we have things that are usually more male-centered that involve power and control and violence, and no one ever questions why someone would enjoy those things. So just a thought that I had recently. But I just want to talk about like her in general, Taylor Swift in general, and I know a lot of people are going to the Eras tour this weekend. In this tour, there's 3 dates left in Toronto and then 3 in Vancouver, and then it's done. And this tour started in March 2023, so it's a pretty long time that she's been doing this. And anyone who is a fan, you know that like she usually announces things at her tours or at different concerts of the tour. And I know we're all hoping that we might get something at the end of Toronto and the end of Vancouver, so we're all just like waiting for that. So anyway, I'll talk about her and like why people like her. And then I know a lot of people are going to the tour either this weekend or next. So I'm going to do just some tips and like my experience at the Eras tour because I did go twice. So I'm going to talk about that at the end. But like in terms of being a fan, like this music for me has been the soundtrack to my life. Like when her first album came out, I was 12. I was in grade 7, and she released an album basically every 2 years since then. And they all just, from the beginning, like there were songs I related to, and a lot of the earlier stuff is very like girly and daydreamy, and like I don't know, me and my friends just related to it. Obviously a lot of people did. And I remember like having my Bejeweled MP3 player and like putting I'd Lie on it, like her earliest songs. And yeah, like I just loved it. I was like a fan from the beginning. And there's a different level of nostalgia that I think us millennials have with it, because we all like went to Zellers to buy the CD or Target. And like I said, like iPhones weren't a thing when she first started releasing music. So like I remember going and getting those first few albums in store and like listening to them on the way home and deciphering like the hidden messages in the lyrics and everything. And like after that, each album is kind of associated with a different like time in my life. And like going from 13 to 30, like I feel like my youth is all just like, this is just a soundtrack for my whole youth. So yeah, there's a lot of emotions that come with that, and that's why people are like very nostalgic. And I mean, I can like hear the arguments or like the questions that people are going to have as I start talking about this. The first one being like, she only writes about her boyfriends and all her songs sound the same, which is completely untrue. She has 200, over 270 songs, all different genres, and at least 70 of them are not about romantic relationships. And this doesn't include the songs that she re-recorded. So this is like original songs. Yeah, at least 70 of them aren't about romantic relationships. So like she has countless songs about like childhood and growing up and her parents and like politics and feminism and all these different emotions that don't have to do with relationships, but somehow people always want to put her in that box. And then there's also the layer of like, so what if she does only write about romantic relationships? If you look at any other artist, most of their songs are about dating and love and breakups. And like these arguments have just been very tiring. And I know she doesn't really get it that much anymore. Some people still have that narrative. But like a lot of younger singers now, like Sabrina Carpenter, Kelsey Ballerini, like they're writing about real life things and they don't get that criticism from people anymore, which is good. Hopefully that means that opinions are changing. But I know there's still people who feel that way. And if you don't like the music, which I don't know how there's not one song out of 270 that you can admit is kind of good, but whatever. But again, it's like the like questioning why other people like her and putting people down about it. And like the music is just one piece of why fans are hooked on like everything she does. Throughout every album, she has like hidden messages through either the lyrics or like the music videos, like when she'll be releasing something or like what a song's about. And like if there's a show that everybody likes, like when Grey's Anatomy was on and everybody was excited for that finale where I won't say who dies, but someone dies. Like no one was like, oh, why do you like that show? It wasn't like a topic of conversation. It was something that a lot of people liked and it was a big deal. Same with like the Friends finale. No one started like questioning why people were so into that show. Everyone wanted to see if Ross and Rachel were going to end up together. And like, that's just how things go. But for some reason, anytime Taylor Swift fans are excited, and maybe it's just because there's so many of us, but like there weren't at this time. I think that's something that's like important to realize is like a lot of people liked her, but because of how much people made fun of you, or like I can just picture all the guys I went to high school with like just talking shit, and you're trying to like fit in so well in high school. Like no one really outwardly expressed how much they liked her. I mean, I did, but I guess there was always a part of me that really didn't care what people thought. But it's hard. Like when you like something and a lot of people are making fun of you for it, a lot of people did like tone it down. A lot of people still do. I see people going to the concerts who have never posted a thing about her in their damn life. And I can't help but wonder if it's because of fear of like how that's received by other people. So anyway, But yeah, like there's like that's why people get so excited when she's going to announce something, and it's the same as anything else that you would like when it comes to movies or TV. And so, speaking of the music videos, a lot of them do hint or did hint at the order that she's going to do her re recordings, which, if you don't know, I won't go on for long about because it is a bunch of like legal things of why this happened. But she's not the first artist to do this. Prince did this, if anyone knows who that is. My mom is a big fan. And JoJo, who sings like Too Little Too Late, JoJo actually re-recorded her first two albums. And it's something that like I said, is not new. Like other artists have done this and they do this to take back music that they've written, and it should be allowed. And this kind of just like put a light on the legalities of the music industry and how like a record label can own music that you wrote and created and produced, which is pretty interesting. So like that's why she's re-recording them, because she didn't have the opportunity to buy them back. And then enough time has gone on in the contracts that she can re-record them. And the idea is that people will just use the newer versions instead of the older ones. And then she gets, I guess, like the rights to it. But I didn't realize that when a label owns your music, they essentially own you, and they can prevent you from like performing those songs that you wrote because they technically own them. And a lot of different things. There's a lot coming out now with like Disney stars and stuff, similar issues. So I would say just like look into that. There's definitely a ton of YouTube videos on it. I don't have the time to go on about all of that, but like a lot of people like her for that reason, because of the principle of it, of like working so hard and like wanting to own it. I think everyone can relate to that, or at least understand why someone would want to do that. And like with the re-recordings too, she put out songs that either weren't allowed to be on her original album. So her label essentially said like she couldn't put a 10-minute song on one of the albums, and you could only have like 12 or 13 songs on an album. I think the most recent one that came out, she has like close to 30 songs. So obviously they're letting her do what she wants to do now, but definitely wasn't the norm when she first started out. And it kind of just goes to show that like old men who are running record labels don't know what young women want. Anyway, so like when she put out the re-recordings, she added all those songs that couldn't be on the album. She added the 10-minute song that she couldn't put on, I think it was like her third album. And yeah, so like that made people extra nostalgic, because like you're excited for her to re-record the songs. Like she has a much better singing voice now than she did when she first started out. So you're like excited to hear her mature version of these songs, and then also the newer versions. I feel like if there's a favorite album that you have and your favorite artist was gonna re-release it again with like 5 new songs, like why wouldn't someone be excited about that? And then like aside from the music, and again, I don't know if I mentioned it already, but there is a Netflix documentary called Miss Americana, which is basically about her whole career, specifically like 2019 is when it ends. And it just like goes to show that it is more than just the music. There's a lot of things that she talks about in that documentary, like standing up to her parents about politics and like outwardly speaking out about politics. Outwardly speaking out, is that I don't know. Speaking out about politics when everyone literally told her not to, because like you're supposed to be this quiet singer who doesn't have an opinion on anything. You're just singing your songs. And there's a lot of interviews where she talks about that. But in that documentary specifically, there's like a whole conversation with her parents about it. And there's also, she talks about a sexual assault case that she had, where she was groped by somebody and she sued him and won for $1. Just to prove a point of like men being held accountable, people being held accountable, and like anyone, well, on top of that too, like she talks about LGBT rights a lot. Like she really supports that and mentions that in some speeches and whatever. And if anyone says it's performative, I don't care. If you're using your platform to promote anything that has to do with like making the world a better place, then like I think that's the most important thing. And I think having someone so big, like with that much influence, talking about like her mistreatment and the issues with the music industry and politics and human rights, I think like that's a good influence on people and keeps people open-minded. So people also really like that about her. And then, like for me specifically, and I know that this goes for a lot of people, you meet so many people, and this is like everything, like friends bond over things that they enjoy. And like we all watch the same shows together, or like we all listen to similar music and go to concerts together. So this is the same thing. But the swiftie community in particular, it ranges from, and I didn't realize until this past weekend, like the demographic that it covers. So like there's women in like their 40s who are super big fans, and then there are like girls who are 5 and 6 years old who are obsessed with her, and everything in between. And no matter where you go, if you hear a Taylor Swift song, or like if you walk into a Taylor Swift themed event, like I went to Swiftie trivia in Toronto, and you walk in and that's all the music that's playing, and everyone's dressed up, and it's just like a comforting, welcoming space where like there's no judgment. Everyone's so supportive. Everyone's giving each other compliments, and it's just so pure. And so that's like one layer to it. The other layer is, like I said earlier, like my whole teenage years, adulthood, like I made friends with people because we both liked this music and because we both related to the things that she was talking about, or even the things that she was doing. And it causes you to have like actual conversations about more than just music and what the music is about. And so I, like a lot of my best friends, gained them through mutual love of this music. And I guess I'll go back to like 2022. Or maybe it was even earlier than that. But I was in Toronto, and they had one of the first Taylor Swift dance parties. If you don't know, it's an organization that up until now has raised over like $135,000 for different charities in Canada. And they basically started in Ontario, had a couple of parties for like their small group of friends. And it was so successful that they expanded all through like Ontario. And now they do these dance parties in every province. And I went to one of the first ones they had. I think it might have been spring 2022, or maybe 2021. I really don't remember. It's all a blur. I feel like once you reach 30, like all the years are just the same, and I can't decipher like what was what. But I know I definitely went to one, and then fall 2022, when she released Midnights, they had another dance party in Toronto at a venue that fit 4,000 people, and it sold out. And I think it might have even sold out 2 different nights. But regardless, one event, 4,000 people, and they sold out. And so I also met people through this. And then they started doing dance parties, like I said, across the whole country. And they did one in Newfoundland that I went to, and I had met some of the people running it. So I met up with them again before this one. And since then, like they've had multiple parties. I've hosted multiple parties here in Newfoundland at the Rock House, and it usually sells out. We have 2 nights, and obviously not as big as venue as Toronto, but still, you meet so many people. There are people who go to these events alone and just like meet up with other people who are there alone, and they make friends and have a good time. And even the ambassadors, like all the people who are the ambassadors for these dance parties, we have a group chat of like 20 of us, and we talk fairly regularly, not even just about Taylor, but like what we're all doing and what's going on in life. And it is really cool to have a community of young people across the whole country and just have that like, I don't know, that like sense of inclusion, which is what this whole fandom is about, I feel. And yeah, so then there's that, and like that's the extra layer for me. And I know so many people have met each other through these dance parties, and they really try and support like local businesses and things like that. So that's another big layer of it. And now this tour is so big, like it's encompassing all these things that happened in her 18-year career. Like I said, it's a safe space for people. People feel comfortable there and like non-judgmental. You can dress however you want. Like it's just like the most comfortable, welcoming community that I am aware of. And if you can't understand why that would appeal to someone, I don't know, either you feel like you can't be different, or you're afraid to jump on a bandwagon. But like, you got to be one or the other. So, especially for something that's fun and not harming anyone, I don't get it. And so, yeah, that basically takes us to where I am today, where this music has just been like an inspiration. Like, she's constantly been told no and made fun of, and like literally had men who stalked her and attacked her and wouldn't let her buy back her own music. And to just come out on top, like where she is right now, whether you like her or not, like that is something to be said. She could have backed down like countless times after her first album when people started making fun of her and making fun of her fans. Like, I feel like she could have just stopped then and there. But like anything people told her she couldn't do, she just proved them wrong and literally made a whole career out of it, out of proving people wrong. So I personally find that inspiring. I know a lot of other people do. And like, that's why people get so defensive, because people are usually only making fun of the fact that she's annoying or writes about ex-boyfriends or whatever. But it goes a lot deeper than that. And like now, after all these like failed relationships, and because obviously like that is a big thing. It's not the only thing about her, but her relationships have been public, as are those of a lot of other artists and actors and famous people. I mean, we follow like the relationships of influencers now. So obviously that is something that people do look at, especially when she has found, and obviously like I talk about relationships a good bit on this podcast, she has seemingly found someone who like openly supports her, isn't intimidated by her success, celebrates her. And I think so many young women can relate to the partners putting them down about something or other that they're doing, whether that's like their confidence or the things that they like. And like being opinionated and successful, a lot of people, particularly men, are intimidated by this. And I'm only speaking from my own experience, but like I've been here a minute and I have a lot of girlfriends, and like this is a norm. And to see a public relationship like that is also very inspiring for people, and also is like hopeful for people. I know I felt that way. And like, he's just proud of her and she's proud of him. And a lot of like, that's a big thing for a lot of young women to look up to, because so often that is not what we see in relationships. I was just reading a whole bunch of stuff on Zach Bryan, so like Exhibit A. And that's all we want. So that's why everyone's obsessed with that relationship, and why people now want to like support him, because when you are a good person, people want to support you and the things that you do. I'm going to do an episode on this very soon, because this has been something that's been really bothering me today. But yeah, so I mean, if you don't understand all of that, I don't know, maybe this segment was pointless for you. If you are a swiftie, I'm sure a lot of what I just said made sense, and I would love to know your thoughts. I'm just thinking, like, I know of people who have like had interactions with coworkers or like family members. I know someone specific who had a guy who has daughters, actually, said that he would kill Taylor Swift if he could. And this is like a professional working man. And like, what does that say about it all? Like, that's the norm. I've heard comments like that all the time. I've heard them throughout her whole career. People have said it to me, like similar things. And there were also these men walking around Toronto this past weekend with like signs, like anti-Taylor signs. I don't know why people don't have anything better to do, but like, it just goes to show, like, this is not dramatic. Like, I'm really not exaggerating when I say these things. Like, this is what fans have had to deal with for a very long time. And I don't know, people just need to go to therapy about why this woman bothers you. And I'm not like, this woman is not my idol. I don't think that she's like perfect by any means. I think she is quite into capitalism and could be doing a lot more in terms of sustainability. And like, I try and be very eco-friendly. That's like what my job is centered around. And that's just how I want to live, is like to be not wasteful. And like, there's so many things that I think she could be doing, but like, it doesn't take away from the fact that like the way she handled her career is a lesson that all women and young girls and young people can really take and use. And like, it also goes to show that no matter how talented or nice or rich you are, people are going to tell you that you're fake or that you don't deserve it or you're not talented. Even if you sell out a world tour for a year and a half, like, it's crazy. People aren't always going to like you, and it is okay if you don't like her. But anyway, I just hope people can stop putting down others for harmless things like this that they enjoy, particularly when it has to do with this person. And I think that's all I have to say about that. Like, I've had too many people, like I said, particularly men or like girls who want to seem cool, who question why I like this person. And I shouldn't have to go into the lore for like 20 minutes of all the little things throughout her career and how like her older songs relate back to some of her newer songs and newer songs, older songs. I don't know what I just said. But like, I shouldn't have to sit down and explain that and explain like how she encourages people to treat each other nicely. Like, that shouldn't be a shocking thing, and that shouldn't be something that people don't understand. And I shouldn't get this question like every time I say something about her, yet somehow it is always a questionable thing when there's an almost 20-year career that this woman has had. And people pretend like there's not one cool thing to be found about it. It just irks me. And I think it bothers everyone who is a fan of anything to have someone question why you like it. There are plenty of things I don't like, and I've never once felt the need to be like, why do you like that? You know? Anyway. And every time someone asks me this, I wish that I could just sit down and like have a conversation and rant all the things that I just ranted to you, like to explain it all. That's why I felt the need to do this today. And now anytime someone asks me this, I can save my breath and you can save your breath and you can show them this. I do want to talk about my Eras Tour experience real quick because there is a Swifties of NL group. There's a Swifties of every city group. I've seen a couple of them and like I know they exist, and everybody's asking questions about how to get tickets, what to do at the concerts, how to get merch, all these things. I went to Wembley Stadium, so that was a completely different experience than it was at the Rogers Center. It took 2 seconds to get a drink, 2 seconds to get merch, 2 seconds to go to the bathroom. It really is a stadium built for that for a lot of people. And the second show I had is the one in Toronto that I just went to. I'll talk about that. I do just want to say too that like this is the only third Taylor Swift concert I've ever seen. I saw her in 2010 for the Speak Now tour when I was 16 or 17. And I went with the same friend that I saw her last weekend with. So that was a really special experience to be able to do that 13 years later, which is crazy. I think when we first went to the Speak Now tour, it was under $100 a ticket. For Wembley, we paid under $350, and for Toronto, we paid under $240, I think, each, which really isn't bad. Obviously, there's people out there buying them for thousands and thousands of dollars, and this just goes to show how we really need to kind of try and avoid monopolies when we can, because like Ticketmaster really screwed us all over, and there needs to be like caps on things, on resale tickets, for all things. Like that goes for like sports tickets and other concerts. There should be a cap on how much you can resell a ticket for. I know that's probably something that's hard to regulate, but with Ticketmaster, there isn't any cap on that. Like people are selling these tickets for $5,000 to $15,000 to $20,000, which is just crazy. And it shouldn't have been a thing in the first place that these people can get tickets when they don't intend to go see the show. Obviously, things happen last minute. I know someone who had an emergency happen and wasn't able to go and gave her tickets to fellow Swifties who, like, it meant the world to them. And I didn't even get my tickets myself. I only got them because two of my friends who are also Swifties were nice enough to let me use their code, or had friends who could no longer use their 2 tickets and sold them to us for the price that they paid, because we didn't get a code no matter how hard we tried. So shout out to people with good morals, because it really sucks for people who bought them just to resell them. And yeah, so for Toronto, I was going to say to go early and get merch and you'll be fine, but it seems that last weekend there were people who went up and bought like a box of this crew neck, which shouldn't be allowed. From my understanding, you can only buy 4 of one thing or 4 things per person. I hope that they enforce something like that at the remaining shows in Toronto and Vancouver, because obviously these people are just buying a box of crew necks to then sell them for a higher price. Like, you can't buy this crew neck online, I don't think. You can only get it at the concert. So yeah, really shame on those people, because I've heard that it's now for like $500, being sold for $500 on Facebook Marketplace, which is not cool. So yeah, I was going to say to go early and do that. You still can. I really don't know how it's going to be this weekend for merch. They sold out of most things by the time the concert happened. If you don't care for the opener, I would recommend going during the opener or going during a part of the concert if there's a part that you're okay to miss, or at the end of the concert there wasn't any merch lines. But yeah, I don't know how that is now. Like, that could differ depending on the gate that you're at. There isn't any merch outside. It's only inside. And speaking of outside, it is kind of cold there, but people are freaking out. I don't know if this is a Newfoundland thing, but I used to go downtown in a dress and heels in the dead of winter and like 4 feet of snow. And so it didn't even dawn on me to like what I was going to bring in terms of footwear and jackets and everything. Like, it's cold there, but the only time you spend outside is to go from the train or your Uber to walk around the building. Or maybe if you're at a hotel, like, you might walk 10 minutes to the venue. But like, once you're there was no lines to get inside. At least there wasn't at like 6 o'clock. I know some people are going earlier to try and get merch, and I did hear that was like 45 minutes to an hour of a wait. So I don't know. I would just give yourself a lot of time, but also don't panic. Like, especially if you're not going to get merch, you don't need to go that early. You can get away with being there by 6. That gives you plenty of time to get a drink and use the bathroom, and you should be fine. I recommend using the bathroom and eating before you go so that you don't have to do it there. But other than that, like, it's a pretty straightforward process. A lot of people were panicked about bags. I don't know what Vancouver's going to be like, but they didn't check bags in Toronto. You just walk through like the metal detector, and they didn't look in our bags. Probably should have. But the bag sizes were small, so it was like only a small bag that you could bring anyway. But again, like, they didn't really take out a measuring tape. They don't have time to do that. So I wouldn't be too worried about that. As long as your bag isn't like crazy oversized, you should be fine. I also recommend bringing like a roll-up tote or a plastic bag and just having that in your pocket, because then if you do buy merch or when you get inside, you can put your coat and purse and everything in this bag and just put it under your seat, and then it's not like flailing everywhere, because the seats are pretty close together. So that was something we did. That was a good idea. And I don't know what shoes everyone is planning on wearing. I wore my heel boots because that went with my outfit, but I brought just a pair of socks with me, and that's what I wore during the concert, and that was very helpful. So you can easily just roll up a pair of socks or slippers, or like those roll-up flats to have. I think that's a good idea. And then you just put on your shoes as you're leaving. People were worried about tickets because they recommend that you have your own ticket on your phone just to make it quicker to go in. But if someone has 4 tickets on your phone for you and your 3 friends, they're not going to deny entry because they're all on one phone. They're just going to make one person scan. Someone walks in, the other one scans, the other person walks in. It's really nothing to panic about, but people are very panicked, especially in these Facebook groups. And I know everyone's just trying to plan ahead. But yeah, it's really not a big deal. And if you're wearing a coat, like, they didn't even make us take off our coats. If you have a bunch of bracelets like on your arm or on your outfit, like, they really aren't looking at that. What they look for is things that are potentially dangerous. And so, yeah, like, there's really not reason to worry for a lot of those things. But again, like, Vancouver might be different. I'm not sure. Another thing I recommend is having one arm with the bracelets that you want to trade. If you have any friendship bracelets, have one arm of the ones that you want to trade and then ones that you want to keep, because there was ones that were given to me that I don't want to give away. I found that pretty easy. You don't need thousands and thousands of bracelets. You probably won't have that much time to trade bracelets. I traded some with like people in the seats behind us and in front of us. But that was pretty much it. And if you don't have bracelets, that's totally fine too. It's not something that's necessary. And a lot of people have made so many that if you don't have bracelets to trade, they will give you some. So I wouldn't worry about that either. I wouldn't worry about anything at this concert. Like I said earlier, it is the most welcoming environment and like safest feeling environment. Like it really doesn't matter. People are non-judgmental. So, and aside from that, like I didn't really take the GO train much. We Ubered and had no issues earlier in the day. So like we Ubered to the Tailgate event, which is put off by the Taylor Swift Dance Party Canada organization. So we went to that around like 3:30 and had no issues getting there. It was a normal Uber, normal priced Uber. We were there until about 6 and we walked like the 5 minutes to the concert. After that, we went to the Loose Moose, where this organization also had an after party. That was only a 5-minute walk away. So we didn't really have to get trains or Ubers or anything. We didn't get an Uber home until 2 a.m. So that was normal time, same price. There was no issues then. I wouldn't recommend trying to get a train or an Uber right after the concert because that'll be crazy. If there's somewhere you can go for a snack or for a drink, I would do that for like an hour and just kind of give the traffic time to die down. I did hear that some of the GO trains were crazy. Again, that's just unpredictable depending on where you're going. But yeah, those two events I would definitely recommend going to. I almost wish we had have gone to the Tailgate, like the pre-event. I wish we had gone to that a different day so that we could stay there for the whole day. It's on from 1 p.m. until 11 p.m. They do a live stream of the concert once the concert's actually on. They have all these different stations. There's like a makeup station with MAC. There's tattoos. There's bracelet making. There's food. There's a bar. There's a DJ. There's tons of things you can, and there's so many photo ops too. I wish we had done more, but we didn't have much time there. So I wish I had have gone there longer. And if you don't have tickets to the concert and you're in Toronto, that's a great thing to do. It's also a great thing of all ages. It was actually mostly kids there, which was the sweetest thing ever. Just all these little girls like trading bracelets and dancing together and singing together and like making new friends. It was so sweet. So would recommend going to that. There was also a lot of adults there. It was a great time. And what else? Yeah, so we went there for a little bit and then we went to the Loose Moose. There is cover, but there's food there. It's a 5-minute walk. There wasn't a line. There's also a restaurant upstairs. That's a little bit quieter, and we were only going to go for a little bit, but we had so much fun that we stayed from like 11:30 until 2 a.m. So if you want even more Taylor, and again, even if you're not going to the concert and you just want to go to like a Taylor Swift dance party, that is somewhere I would recommend going. But yeah, I think that's pretty much everything that I wanted to rant about today. That's basically most of the questions that I get from people. Aside from what our surprise songs were, so when I saw her at Wembley, our surprise song was Dear John and Sad, Beautiful, Tragic she mixed it with, and London Boy, which we were in London, so I get it, but that wasn't my dream seeker or surprise song experience. And then when we were at night 3 in Toronto, she did Us with Gracie Abrams, who I'm just obsessed with. I feel like she's really becoming well known. Most people were in their seats for her, actually. So that was pretty cool to see. So she brought her out for that song and mixed with Out of the Woods, which is a great bridge. Everyone loves scream singing that song. And then she did Long Story Short mixed with You're on Your Own Kid. And if you are a Swiftie, you understand that those songs are very beloved. And You're on Your Own Kid is such a sentimental song. And like, I feel like everyone can relate to that one for different reasons. And I thought that she was going to save it for the last show in Vancouver. And I'm realizing now she might do it again then too. But I really didn't think that we were going to get that. And when she started playing it, my friend has a video. I said to her, I was like, this sounds like You're on Your Own Kid. And she was like, no, don't even put that out there. Don't even put that into the universe. And then that's what she started playing. And the whole place went up. It was so fun. So anyone going, I hope that you get the surprise songs of your dreams. And yeah, that's all I had to say. I feel a lot better now about ranting. If you ever want to come on here and rant about something or talk about something, let me know. You can find me on all social media at Newfound Happy Hour and on video at Spotify. And there's only a couple episodes left to 2024. So stay tuned for those and let me know what you think. Have a good weekend.